Roll call.
Councilman Ballas? Councilman Ingles?
Here.
Councilman Petrusi?
Here.
Councilman Stein?
Here.
Councilman DeShawn? Councilman voted in. President Faust?
Here. Preliminary announcements. Does anybody have any preliminary announcements? Oh, preliminary announcements, yeah. Last week there were some questions about the Halloween parade. The Halloween parade is on. The borough actually pulled through to save that a little bit. The Main Street, there's some problems with going on up there. Somebody was suing somebody and they're a little bit worried about it. And the borough said, no, we're not going to stop our Halloween parade. It's on. So there's a flyer here on it. I don't know if do we have any flyers up there?
I do not, but I can get some.
Okay.
They're on top
Oh,
He's
that's
always
good.
there.
Okay.
Welcome to have mine if they wanted it. That's the only preliminary outside. If anybody else, preliminary announcements? Okay. Any guests here tonight? No, just all the usuals. Okay, council items that we're gonna be discussing tonight. The Cohen Law Group, franchise fees. Joe, do you wanna?
Yeah, the borough gets franchise fees from Verizon and Comcast, both. Every quarter we get so many dollars based on the use, who uses what. Our franchise fee is up, or our agreement is up with Comcast right now. We had some issues with Comcast when we were doing the safe routes to school. They had a pole that was down, and Verizon had a pole that was down, and Comcast had its wires on. And we called Comcast, asked them to move it so we could do the work, and we didn't have no power whatsoever to get them to come in here. We were at their mercy. Dan Cohen, who's an ex-city councilman, has the Cohen Law Group. They specialize in this area. I called Dan and I said, hey, could you give me a quote? He said, yeah. I said, do you need to see our agreement now? He said, no, this agreement, we just throw away. We write the agreement, we tell them what we're going to do. So that is $7,900 for this agreement. And then there's another portion of it where it's $4,900 to do an audit. And what the audit does is it goes back over the past 5 years of the agreement to make sure that we got paid what we were supposed to get. 72% of the time, the audit will show that and it will pay for itself. But then again, there's 27% of the time or 28% of the time that it doesn't pay for itself. So next week we'll vote on that, whether we want to just go with the agreement we have or have them look into it. I think it might be wise to have them look into this, to go with this franchise agreement, and then when the next one comes with Verizon, we will be able to use that as a template. Any questions?
Okay. The industrial appraisal.
Industrial appraisal, it's to our benefit, the borough's benefit, to have an appraisal done on all our properties that we have for insurance purposes. We haven't done one in quite some time, so I got a quote. We put this in the budget for last year, and I asked to update it, and it's $5,620 for the years. But then they also, for a measly $195, there's an annual service fee. They update the property inventory and accounting cost records, and then and the insurable values for another $495. So it looks like once we do this, instead of having to do this every so many years, we'll just be able to renew it and update it every single year. This will save our premiums for our insurance quite a bit once we have this updated.
Now, does this include properties, fire halls, vehicles,
Yes.
everything?
No, not vehicles.
Not vehicles,
just
okay.
Property.
Just property, okay. The vehicles, that's another thing.
That'll be
We
another
evaluate
motion.
every once in a while, but that's not.
Yeah. And this is the same company we
This
use
like
last
company
time.
does that for vehicles. Okay, catch basin replacement and CD 44 grand administrated by the Still Rivers COG.
We put in a grant for the CD 44 like we always do for the CDBG contract or allotment. We put in for 104,000 for like 20 catch, how many we do, Bob? 20 catch basins. They came back and they said, will give us 40,000. We didn't know if how much they were gonna give us. So what we did is we broke out the bids in 2 separate phases. And the phase that was phase, or the base bid A, which had 9 of them, came back at $54,250. If we go ahead with that bid, we'll use $40,000 for grant money, and then we would pay $14,250 out of the Public Works Fund, or the general fund. So we would pay $14,250, and then they'll pay the rest. Okay,
When is that grant coming?
that's what we're voting on, if we want to do this.
What do you wanna go for?
It's in. In fact, the letter's already written, if we accept it.
Okay, Shady Harvey Avenue Extension Project, I know we'll be voting on that next week. We have a bid, right?
We finally got the bid. We opened the bids on Monday. Creative Enterprises Corporation, very reputable company, do a lot of work for the borough. On other things, they are out of West Mifflin, and they came in as a low bidder of $141,805. The highest bid was $333,800. So I would have had a lot, if they all came in like the highest bidder, I would have had a lot explained to Mr. Rondo about why we can't do it all in 1 year. But since it's 141,805, we will be able, Finance Committee went to council, already approved it to get the project done. Once we award it next Wednesday, Thursday, we'll inform him, send him a letter and say, hey, it was approved, let's move forward.
So, has there been any discussion, and I assume not, but any discussion with the bidding process about we need to get this done quickly? Or is that still to be discussed whenever we award it?
No, he knows.
Okay.
He knows. Before we had him look at the project, coincidentally, before. Those guys know how to bid it and everything, and he knows the urgency of it.
Yeah, I would just be concerned if we awarded it and then guys like, well, my schedule's booked until February or something like that.
I think Colin was gonna address that with him too. When I talked to Colin, and Mr. Rondo was there, and one of the questions I asked, can this be done, in the winter? He said, yeah, it can be done unless there's, extreme ice or a lot of snow, so
Right.
it should be able to be done,
We also have 2 other projects. Elizabeth Street, there's a project he's doing, and also he's demoing one of the houses for us on Margaret Street, 1324 Margaret Street. So we are putting pressure on him to, November is going to be Munhall month for creative enterprises, to get them all done.
Okay.
Okay, stormwater ordinance 1591.
Allegheny County came out with the stormwater management ordinance that we all have to adopt. Our legal team went in and they made some adjustments, our engineers made some adjustments. But this is the stormwater management ordinance that we need to pass next week.
And that's by law.
That's by county, right? We had to, by the end of the year, we had to do that.
Question,
Yes, sir.
will that help her?
I'm not quite sure.
That'd be maybe a question that we can ask more next week.
Yeah, we could ask.
Engineer maybe would know a little bit more on that, huh? How that would read, I guess.
I'm looking for it, I know you gave me one, I can't find it. Copy of it.
I'll give you one. I don't know if you have it.
I
I haven't had time
I
to
have,
Do you?
digest it all
Somewhere I
yet,
do.
so I
Are
couldn't
you
tell
good,
you.
back?
somewhere. I think I did. Thought it was.
If not, I'll get you. I don't know if I put them in the packet, but I'll get you one.
Okay.
CDBG.
CDBG funds, remember that thing I said about 40,000? And we owe 14,250? Well, CD 45 is coming in, and we would have to, we make a resolution to move forward with Steel Rivers Cog to add to the contract. We're gonna do the same thing as we did with the catch basins. And our total project cost is $104,125. Hopefully we get all that this time. We might have been short last time, and give us some more this year, or we could be in the same position next year as we are with this.
Are those solely used for demos?
No, they cut them out.
They cut them
You know,
out.
this is catch basins.
Oh, catch basin, that's right.
Yeah, they,
CDD, at least get money for that for demos.
because of the asbestos removal laws and everything in the county, they can get a little crazy, so they.
Okay, number 7, TCVCS.
Creek Valley Community Services, I'll be on the docket next week as well.
I have some things I'd like to say about that.
Sure.
Anyone like to go first?
Oh, no, you got it from me. We can jump in.
So-
I don't have.
So we got the Hatch technical memorandum on the Willis Center at the last meeting. And I read what was spoken about and what was quoted in here. And the cost estimate is $2,920,000. $2,920,923.45 to be exact, with a 25% contingency of $730,000, bringing the total up to $306 million per se. And I read it over pretty well. And then I went and took a tour of the Willis Center myself. And I brought several people with me to look at it. And went through it pretty extensively. And I found some things that I thought were really interesting there. And I'm going to share them with everyone here. Just so we know that we're all, before council makes any decisions on this, which I know they are going to make decisions on it, I think council should be aware of what I found out there to be pretty much not covered in this study, in this memorandum. And just so the public knows, I've been in the construction business for about 40 years, so I don't know all the ins and outs, and I'm not an engineer, but I'm pretty knowledgeable about the trades, building construction per se. Not the most knowledgeable, but I'm a master plumber, so in my trade, I need to be aware of all the trades and all the conditions in a building for safety of my employees, for safety of anyone in the building. It's a priority. So, that being said, I walked through the Willis Center. One of the first things I noticed in the Willis Center was that the exterior walls are uninsulated. They're a brick and a tile construction, a masonry construction as that's called, that would probably fail the energy code compliance standards that's needed for this building. But in the memorandum for this building, they note that as a failure. So that's a failure over there too, guys, all right? So, and that's not in the cost estimate of our engineering from Hatch, Chester, okay? Secondly, going through that building, all the levels are steel beams construction with bar joists, or junior beams they call them, above, held up through there by that. So in the demolition process, you know, because it's, you know, we were told it's going to be a very easy process to demo these walls out and do this stuff. They would all need to be fire rated again because there has to be fire protection on these steel beams. If there's a fire in a building like this, and I could be misspeaking a little bit, and if there's anyone that's smarter than me, feel free to correct me if I misstate something. Like I said, I don't profess to be an engineer, but so each of these beams that hold these junior beams up need to be protected by insulation and fire protection, okay? That's what we noticed looking through there. Thirdly, one of the first things you notice when you walk through the floor the entrance to the floor and through the building itself, all 3 levels above, is that the floors appear to be made of asbestos tile. And that's not in the cost estimate of the engineering from Chester Hatch. So there would be a large cost for abatement of asbestos tile. And I know people can say, well, asbestos tile can be covered over. Well, when asbestos tile is loose and fragmented, it needs to be removed. And the whole place is fragmented and pretty loose. So guys, there's probably $500,000 there. Conservatively, not knowing that, but that's a conservative number. Because as I walk through the building further, and I do know, and they would need to be tested, and son of a gun, I left my piece. I did bring a piece of it here. It's out in my car. Didn't bring my car. My son has my car.
I'm sure we'll see it next week.
But honestly, I will bring it next week. You're absolutely correct. This is just a forerunner. I'm certainly disappointed that the other councilmen aren't here so I could speak with them. So I might add that cost estimate from Hatch Chester is not in the report either. Okay? Walking through there as well, I did find, and I know it's asbestos pipe wrapping on piping in the building. No doubt in my mind, asbestos. Okay? Also, in talking with other engineers and people in the trades, the insulation that they put that protects the fire steel beams that I was speaking about earlier, that needs to be, that could be possibly asbestos in there as well. And that was not mentioned in the engineering report by Chester Hatch. Okay? Sorry. Turn it on. So, that's a large factor right there. Fourthly, the windows in that building, they appear very nice from the outside, but 50% of the ones I tried to open didn't work. Couldn't open. I couldn't open them. They're at a dated window and they're older than these windows. So all the windows in there are not going to be energy code compliant. And that was not found in the Chester Hatch engineering report. So there's a lot of money that's going to need to be spent there too, just so you know. Okay? Further, number 5 issue that I found there, it was kind of an easy one. The water was dripping and leaking down through the building. So the roof is leaking, and it's leaking in more places than I could put a pencil to. And apparent ceilings coming down, and these are plaster glass ceilings, so they're a much stronger ceiling than per se a drywall ceiling. There's metal there. And the roof is a flat roof construction, and I'm sure all you guys know what roof construction is, flat roof construction is. It's a insulation, it's a metal decking with foam insulation with a roof product on it, okay? Well, once that roof product is leaking somewhat, water can get into that, it can deteriorate the insulation, it can get to the actual metal of the decking, and that can cause rust, that can cause mold and mildew there, and problems. So, I would think that probably the whole roof is going to need to be replaced. And that is not in the Hatch Chester engineering report. I almost forgot Mr. Chester's name there. Sorry about that. So, number 6, and I don't know, but I sure would think that sprinkler systems would need to be installed in that building. As large as the building is, with the egress of the building, there are no sprinkler systems for that building. So just so you know, sprinkler systems might want to be added to that cost of the building. That was not in that Chester Hatch engineering report from Colin Lampart and Chester. Okay? looking at the exterior of the building, the parapet at the top of the building, you guys know what a parapet is? It goes all around the building. It's the brick that goes up around the building, that the walls, that the roofing gets glued to or stuck to. That needs to be capped and sealed, and they do mention that somewhat in their report, not saying that they don't. One of the biggest things that I found very, very interesting, all along, we've heard how easy this building is going to be to demo. It's all open, and all the walls in there will be very simple to demo. Well, let me tell you, that building over there is plaster with metal lath with what they call a pin steel wall. And what they do with pin steel walls is they're steel, and they wrap the wire around the lath, and every 16 inches is wrapped with metal lath and steel. Am I putting you guys to sleep over there?
Yeah,
You know what?
not me.
Sorry about it, Ryan. I thought it was really interesting because, you know what? It will take a laborer's nightmare to knock these walls down. So whoever's telling you this, Joe, is very much mistaken, because it's not going to be cheap, and it's not going to be an easy it's going to be a nightmare. And actually, the plaster, which I didn't know, but talking to someone, that plaster can have asbestos in it as well. So that will all need to be tested as well before they even start. So there's a lot that needs to be done as far as procedures, even before any construction begins over there. That brings me to the basement. So getting to the basement, you know, I did forget one other thing here that I mentioned. I oversighted. The third floor, when I did go up there is a stress crack up there. And I know Harvey was mentioning about the crack out here. There is a stress crack going up through that building in the very back, or the very front of the building, I believe it is, on the third floor up there. So that was the only crack I saw in there, but it's a stress crack. And it's quite evident, just so you know about that. So, the basement, let me get to that. The basement of the building is filled with mold. It stinks to high heaven. Our basement smells 5 times better than that basement over there. I can tell you that right now. The water in there is putrid. The air down there, the air quality is horrid. It's horrendous. Obviously, it hasn't been used for quite a while, but the building in the basement is going to be quite a construction fiasco to put the police department down there. I don't know how much the police department intends to use down there, but I think cells and whatnot are supposed to be put down there. Was part of the plan.
Training area, evidence processing, and storage.
I don't think the officers will be real happy with the air quality down there. Okay, so that's basically the basic gist of what I got there. And I'm not an engineer, and I don't profess to be an engineer, but this report produced by our engineers didn't pick up a lot, and a lot was omitted. So when you go from $8 million to $3 million, let's start playing real ball here. Let's really look at things the way they really are instead of the way we want to be seen. So I take these reports with a grain of salt. They miss a lot of stuff. So, also what's missing from this report, which I find very interesting, because part of the agreement is that they are going to pay their own utilities up in that third floor, and we're going to have utilities, I guess, separated for the second floor, and separate utilities for the first floor and the ground floor. The first floor, which is the below, so when you walk into the building, the borough will be the lower floor. It won't be the ground floor, which is a little bit confusing because you would think the ground floor would be the first floor, but it's not. So that isn't confusing in itself. Would you tell my son to stop calling me? I mean, really, come on.
He's your son.
I said my son. So unless he wrecked the car.
Then you really don't want to hear from
Then
him.
I really don't want to hear from him. So splitting of these utilities is a major cost. It's not in here. So I looked at the water service coming into this building. There's one water line that comes into the building. There's not 3 separate water services. There will need to be separate water services brought in because Pennsylvania American Water does not allow you to put 3 meters in off of one service line. So unless they give you a special, unless they allow you to do a variance, they don't do that. So you'll need to have separate utility lines brought into there. Separate electrical lines will need to be run up through there. I don't know if we're planning on using natural gas in this building, but the heating system that was in this building was the heat transferred from another building in that complex up there. So there is no actual heat source in the building right now. There is a chiller in there, and there's generators in there, but there is no actual furnaces in there that I saw anyway. So there is a lot omitted right there alone in the utilities, okay?
Hey, Jim, wake up.
And that brings me to a couple other things about the building itself. The 3rd floor in particular, I was brought through there by one of the Turtle Creek Valley representatives, and I asked him specifically, what is going to be done up on the 3rd floor? Are patients going to be brought up here? Citizens are asking this question. Are there going to be patients? And he looked at me and said, you know, we have not purposed this floor yet. We don't know what we're going to do up here. So that tells me that they may be putting patients up there. He didn't have an answer for me. And I know the chief and I talked about this before, and we were sort of under the impression that there weren't going to be patients there.
Clerical workers will be told.
Right. So I've gotten a different answer than that from Turtle Creek. So I think these things bring up question marks, that all of these things bring up question marks that have not been answered properly. I think that just this alone, Munhall Council can't approve this vote. You can't vote rightly on this. You cannot go forth with all these questions about what's being done here. You know, I understand you have an engineer's report here. This is not an engineer's report. This is a walkthrough. This is a walkthrough wish list, and they put numbers on here. This is not a technical engineering report, just so you know that. You know that, right? It's not. Nowhere near an engineering report. Ever. Never in your wildest dreams. So you guys can't vote on that. If your conscience tells you, I think that's the better building, you can't do it. It's not the better building. And my belief is, I looked at there. Have all of you gone through that building over there? I want to know. Did all you go walk through there and look at that building?
I went through, but be honest with you, I won't profess to have an engineer either. I'm not an engineer. So, I mean, the engineer's going to have to answer a few questions next week.
So I can tell you now, big time questions on that. Also, one of our residents happens to be an engineer. And I got a letter from him. And I was very, very surprised that I got it. I want to read it to you. Fine. Here. I found it very interesting, and I'll leave his name here. He's in the crowd here if anyone has any questions. And I believe he's here in the crowd. I was told he was going to come. So, and I'm not going to give his name. If he wants to stand up and correct me on anything, he can, if he's here. In reviewing the reports prepared by Hatch for both the existing Munhall Borough building and the proposed new location of the 2nd floor of the existing Willis building, I have several comments that need to be addressed, and I didn't speak about some of these things, which I did notice, and when I get to them, I'll tell you that I noticed them as well. The existing building is listed as approximately 35,000 square feet. There is no floor plan provided or any breakdown on how much the area is occupied by the police, the fire, or building employees. Point two, number two, the report calls for a building addition of 15,000 square feet to the existing structure due to inadequate space at a cost of $152 a square foot, I believe, equaling 2.28 million for a total space requirement of 50,000 square feet. That is ludicrous, guys. That is the whole floor of one of them floors up there. You realize that, right? The addition that Hatch gave us is equal to a whole floor of one of the, it's more than a whole floor, but I'll look at that when I get back to it. That's how ludicrous that estimate is on the addition for the police department. So look at your square foot and you can argue with me in a minute. The second floor of the Willis building is listed as 10,541 square feet, which is far less than the existing building space, as well less than the requested addition alone. How much space is required by the borough? 35,000 square feet, 50,000 square feet, or 10,500 square feet? What are the space requirements for the police, fire, and borough administration? It sounds like 15,000 square feet addition is not necessary for an immediate savings of 2.8 million, as well as savings in site improvements and building structure changes. So take that 2.8 million out of the 8 point some million, or the 7 point whatever million that is. Let me get to that number for you, so you can figure that out what I'm talking about. I lost it. I'm a little nervous. That's the wrong one. That's the same one. Here it is. Yes, so 2.28 million could be taken off the 7.1 million. You know, so the 7.1 million for the refurbishing of our borough building, plus the 25% contingency plan of 1.78 million, brings it up to $8.9 million, which is, that's how you build a number up. At $8.9 million, you know, 25% of the $2 million square foot addition, $2.28 million, someone could figure the math out for me, you know, 2.28 million plus 25%, take that right out of that $8.9 million to start with, just for number feasibility anyway.
How are we taking that out? Maybe I missed something there.
What's that?
How are you taking that out? 8.9?
Well, look,
2.8?
they're saying we're gonna put right. Where are you gonna put a 15,000 square foot addition on the police station? Where are you gonna put a floor Willis Center over there? It can't be done. I mean, unless you're building a three-story building or something right over in that space there. So much of our existing building is occupied by the fire department, including garages for fire vehicles. This, of course, would not fit on the second floor of the Willis building. Where is it going? And I brought that up at the last meeting. What are we going to do about that fire company? And Mr. Vodadian said that you guys were talking about it. You're going to take care of it. Don't worry about it. The basement of the existing borough building originally housed the police station before it was formed to the first floor. That's news to me. I didn't know that. Did you know that?
I didn't hear.
Oh. The basement of the existing borough building originally housed the police station before it was moved to the first floor.
I never knew that.
I didn't know that either.
Wouldn't want to go there more.
This space is currently used for storage and bicycles and could be economically utilized for more space if needed. So he's talking about the garage.
Yeah, that's the girl.
He's talking about the garage could be utilized into space, which I brought that up as well. The report of the existing building from Hatch lists floor, wall, file storage, and cabinetry upgrades, electrical lighting, HVAC, at the same rate as the entire 35,000 square foot building. The fire station garage should not be at the same rate as the office areas. The budget figure is bloated because of that. Also, do we really need $1,960,000 for floor and wall furnishings, file storage, furniture, and cabinetry? That's a lot of cabinetry, and that's a lot of wall finishes. The report also compares 35,000 square foot of upgrades in the existing building with 10,000 square feet in the Willis Center being the same 65 square foot rate. Of course, the building that is 3 times larger would be over 3 times more. Not in the reports is the cost of raising the existing building, that's this building, which should be applied to the cost of the Willis building. Similar upgrades and repairs need to be made to both buildings. If the borough elects to move to the Willis building, these repairs will need to be made prior to moving. If the borough decides to stay in the existing building and repairs the upgrades, may be made over a period of time with much less disruption to the borough operations, such as police and fire. Both buildings contain asbestos. Additional money will be needed to be budgeted to mitigate the asbestos in the Willis building, which I brought up to you already. The building was constructed in 1964, and the floor tile from that era contains asbestos as well as floor adhesives, which I didn't know about adhesives, for many years after. The plaster walls and possibly pipe insulation may contain asbestos, and that's where I quoted him as saying the plaster walls, which I didn't know about plaster walls. But I did see pipe insulation with asbestos there. Site improvements of $714,000 are listed for the existing borough building. No details are given to what these include. If the addition is eliminated, this may be greatly reduced. If this is the budget number for raising the building, it should be moved into the Willis budget. We don't know that, but it didn't sound like that to me. The $714,000 was for sidewalks, curbs, storm improvements, and landscaping. It's a lot of money. Site improvement of $300,000 are listed for the Willis building. Does the number include the cost of a new parking lot proposed to be located in the north of the building up there? Not sure. The existing building report lists a December 9th, 2015 early intervention program for Munhall Borough. Reports prepared by Resource Development Management Incorporated of Pittsburgh, and August 13, 2013 letter prepared by Optimus Risk Services of Gibsonia, citing building issues and recommendations. Are these reports available? They are available. I have read several of them. They may provide better information on the upgrades needed for the existing building, and they do. And they should be adhered to, and should have been adhered to right away. But they haven't. The RS means Building Construction Guide. Used in preparing the Hatch report may be helpful in providing a quick ballpark budget figure to simple buildings if used correctly. It's never meant as a substitute for a thorough, detailed engineering analysis in deciding multi-million-dollar issues. As a 45-year resident of Munhall and a taxpayer, I am extremely upset that a decision to tear down an important architectural landmark in this borough and replace it with a parking lot could be made based in such sparse, conflicting, and frankly incorrect reports. This decision should be postponed until a detailed engineering can be completed. I think I agree with you, sir. If you are here and you'd like to stand, you can certainly do that. If you choose not to. Thank you very much, Mr. Timko, for your report. didn't really notice a lot and didn't tell anyone was the square foot issue. And that is really a questionable issue of the square footage. Doesn't make sense. That brings me to the parking areas here, and people were questioning about the parking lot of the existing Borough Building, and that the deal has already been made with the Batch Foundation, thank you, that we're giving them our parking lot, or we're selling them our parking lot, or they're gonna knock down our buildings and we're gonna give that property to them, or they're gonna lease it from us. I ask you openly, is that true, or is there anything to this story?
Never heard it.
First I heard it from you.
Okay, well, I heard it from a resident after the last meeting, was told by one of our councilmen this. And that's why I'm asking you this now, so in front of everyone again. Well, they all have said no, they've never heard of it, right?
I never heard it.
News to me.
Well, thank you very much, because I have never heard a word of that. And I've said that all along, I've never heard any discussions about that. And it should be publicly discussed, it shouldn't be secretly discussed, for sure. So I hope that that's not the case. I don't know how the Batch Foundation can go ahead with this project without any parking over there to suffice for them. So have they come through to the commission, our planning commission, and asked for the permits to build stuff there? And
They
if
don't need to come through planning.
Pardon me?
They don't need to come through planning.
They don't need to come through planning without parking.
They haven't done any plans yet.
Do they have a permit to demo the building?
Yes, they have a permit to demo the buildings.
So you're allowing them to demo the buildings?
Yes, they have permission to demo their buildings.
Okay. And that's all they've done so far then?
That's all they apply
Because the
for.
people are kind of nervous about this. They're wondering what's going on. And I'm not skirting the talking about the Borough Building and moving and comparing the two, but it does tie in with the whole property, this property and that property. And that's why I bring that up, because honestly, no one has spoken a word about this to me, and rightly so. I'm just as mad when I heard this after the last meeting. Someone came to me and said that they were told by one of our councilmen that was going to happen. That irritated the hell out of me, honestly, it did. So just think about this for 1 second here. You know, the fire department is here. Where are we going to put the fire department? That's a big question mark. If we move into the Willis Center, it's going to cost a hell of a lot more than $3 million, let me tell you, to do what they're planning on doing there. I hope you guys realize that. And the parking situation there, we still don't know what the parking situation is. We should be given schematics of what that's going to look like up there. And again, I think you owe it to the residents to hold off this vote until you present it properly to everyone, so we know that for sure that there are not going to be patients up there. So you have someone from Turtle Creek come to our council meeting and speak to us and say, this is what we intend to use the building for. We don't intend to have patients up there. We don't want to mix that with residents there and people, employees of our borough there. A lot has not been given to us. And I think you owe it to each and every resident of the town to tell the people what the plans are. Do we have written plans up for the floor space over there? Joe?
No,
We don't.
no.
And you've had no contractors go through there and do that, give you any plans.
No, it wouldn't make sense before to go and spend thousands of $70,000 to get.
So we've had 4 months to get, to have this proposal in front of us. We have 4 months to say, hey, let's look at this building, do we want to take it or not? In 4 months' time, we've not had any of the asbestos checked to see if there's asbestos in the
Is
building.
asbestos in there?
Is there?
Yeah. Asbestos report right here. Read it to you.
Why is it all hidden?
I didn't know. I
You
don't.
forgot?
No, wait,
Really?
wait.
Really?
Did you forget that there's asbestos in there?
Okay.
You want to hear?
It's,
Hear.
please let him talk. He wants to, he's gonna tell us about this stuff. I wanna hear it, so.
You haven't heard about it?
I heard there was, I knew there would be some asbestos in there, actually. I would imagine there would be, so, you know, the building been vacant for a long
Okay,
time.
well, I'd like to hear it.
I'll be more than happy to read it.
Good.
Maybe I left it on my desk. I will go get it.
Okay. In the meantime, you know, the cost of an addition onto this building at $2.28 million, or 2 point whatever million dollars, what it is, we could build a brand new building for $4 million instead of going over there and becoming landlords. Does Munhall Borough, and I'm gonna quote borough people here, do we wanna be in the landlord business? Do we wanna be in the real estate business? Do we want all that nightmare over there? I think West Mifflin has West Mifflin has a beautiful building, and there's no doubt about it. But that Willis Center will never be the floor plan or the layout that West Mifflin has. It's never gonna happen, it's just not set up that way.
Mayor,
We
would
could,
that building ever check for lead piping in that building?
oh, I'm sure there's all lead piping. And I'm sure there's lead paint all through the building.
Exactly.
And I'm sure it's all, you know,
Is there
it's
any
gonna
other
need.
estimates? I know there's only one estimate on them report. Why wasn't there
These are
two or
just,
three?
these are engineering reports, and these are not engineering.
I know.
That's an estimate.
That's come there's no other.
Are you gonna get?
You got it, you got it.
Yes,
Great.
This report, the conclusion, asbestos containing pipe and pipe fitting insulation, floor tile and mastic, red and tan structural floors, and acoustic ceiling tile adhesive were identified at the site. All materials were observed to be in good condition.
Well, I argue that. I have a towel. It's in my car. That's loose everywhere. And it's not in good condition. So, I don't know who wrote that.
VATC Associates Incorporated out of Seven Fields, PA.
Well, I would like to have them come and walk through with me. Because I walked through the building and it's loose everywhere through the building. Guaranteed. And I don't need to be an engineer to say that. When did they do that, Joe?
2005.
2005.
Yeah.
So that was,
Oh, it changed. That's funny. It changed. It grew.
well, no, actually you don't understand. When you don't have heat in a building, the floors contract and they can expand and contract, and the tile floor loosens up, and it's loose through the whole place. Because I picked one up to play frisbee with it. That's how bad it is. And if you walk through there, you know it's all loose. So a 2005 Discovery is not applicable for today's standards. I'm sorry, it doesn't fit, it doesn't work. Also, you know, walking through this building, I would have liked to have been notified and had some input with the people that walked through it as well from a Hatch Engineering. I wasn't said, hey, they never came to my office and said, what would you like done in your office? Not a word was said to me. You know, I just have a small little office, but I walk through the building just as well as everyone else here does. No one came to me and said a word. I think you guys cannot honestly vote yes for this next week. And if you do, you're ill prepared and it's not correct. Also, I do have the petition that's signed. I'm not sure how many people are on it. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I know there's several more out there that need to be recognized. And I'm just going to give it to you right now, Robin.
Okay.
There's more that I'll give to you, because I know I have a couple sheets out. Like I said, I didn't write the petition. Mine would have been much more simpler. let's save our building, let's save our Munhall Borough building, let's fix it up and repair it. There's no reason why we can't. These numbers that they're put on this $9 million project are not correct. They're not right. They're skewed to look one way, to move. They're not skewed they're not done evenly. So, in speaking, I think you should get a third-party engineer that come in here and really look at both buildings. Someone that's not politically tied to Munhall Borough, someone that's not politically tied to this building or that building. And I know that, maybe you might know your engineering firm might be able to come and look at it, or know of another engineering firm that might come and look at it.
I'm probably biased, so it may not be a good idea.
I am very active in the Carnegie Library, and I spoke with Carol
Why does it
Shreves,
stay here, yeah?
who is undergoing a $10 million renovation for the library in phases. And she said that she is willing to sit with Munhall Council and present what she has done at the library.
That's nice. Very nice of her. So,
Mr. Mayor, has the solicitor signed off on this deal? Has anybody asked his opinion, yes or no?
I don't think.
Is this a good deal or not?
I don't
Should we
think
do it or not?
in my opinion, the solicitor is not, it's not his opinion. You know, is it being done legally? I don't know that if it's being done properly.
Basically, that's what the solicitor's job is, to make
Right.
sure, to keep us out of trouble, to make sure something is done legally. But to give an opinion one way or the other, I don't think
Not
the
if it's a
solicitor
good
would
deal
do
or
that.
not.
Great.
Have you crossed all your T's?
Legally, that's
dotted
what
all
the
your
solicitor
I's?
checks.
Have you done that? Has he signed off on that aspect?
I would think he has. I would think he's presented things properly, I guess, I don't know.
He would accept something like this as a thorough document that the board could go and vote on?
What is that?
That's the,
Is that-
that's Chester thing.
Oh, I can't accept this as nothing more than a walkthrough, putting numbers on it. Honestly, that's what, I don't see this as a engineering report in detail. It's not an engineering report in detail. It's not correct.
So a solicitor would say this is not enough depth.
Well, I don't think that's his opinion to say that either, though, honestly. I mean, it's not. I don't know. I'm not in charge of that. But just looking at the first two numbers and reading, you know, $1.9 million for cabinetry, furniture, file storage, and floor and wall furnishings. That's a lot of money. And $2.28 million for an addition, you know, a 15,000 square foot addition. That's a lot of money. So that's $3 million, that's $4 million right there. Put 25% on that. That's another million. That's $5 million right there. $5 million in the first two line items. So take $5 million off of $8 million, you're about the same number as you got over there. And that's not even comparing the work and whatnot that's saying needs to be done. I don't buy it, is all I'm saying. I say, show me the numbers, show me the real numbers. And anyone who looks at numbers like this gotta say, really? No way. No way. So, I say to you guys, you can't vote on this and vote with the true intention that these are the real numbers. So I ask you guys to take that off the agenda next week. I think you need to take your time and do a proper investigation of this, which I don't think has been done. And if there's no one screaming in to go buy that building and take this building, this deal will be here 6 months from now. This deal's not walking out the door going down West Main Street. It's not gonna happen. It's been there for 20 years, it's sat empty. No one's rushing to knock the doors down to get into there, to take this deal out of us, out of our hands. You gotta really look at, and the people don't want it. The people want this building to stay as the Borough Building. And that's the way I feel about it. So that's about all I have to say right now.
Just one quick point. you're covering one side of the equation, and that is what are the cost of the issues that are currently in place. There's a second piece of the equation, and that is what's the cost to get the building to do what its purpose is to do. This was built for a borough building. That was built for a hospital. So there's gonna have to be adjustments made to get the building structured to serve the purpose that it's there to serve.
Well, that's what this estimate is for. That's what this estimate here is for at $2.9 million with a contingency of $730,000, bringing it to a grand total of $3,600,000 to bring that into that standard. But they didn't cover all their bases. They didn't take into effect that there's asbestos floor tile through the whole place. That all these things that I brought to the attention of council is not been taken, it's not in here. They missed it.
Is it in there about utilities, how to split utilities?
No, it's not in here. Not in there. I mentioned that already. It's not in there, it's not covered. It's a big cost. You know, there's a lot to do over there. And it's not an easy construction job at all. Not one bit. If you think it's an easy knockdown, we're gonna knock your wall down, they're not coming down that easy, I'll tell you that right now. Not gonna be a fun job.
So, Mr. Mayor, doesn't the board have a fiduciary responsibility to act reasonably when they make financial decisions?
Absolutely.
And everything that you presented knocked a lot of holes in things, so they have to go through and figure out all the answers before they can make a vote.
Well, they should.
If they're gonna act in reasonable financial
They should.
responsibility.
They should.
If they don't do that, then they're gonna be acting irresponsibility.
I agree. I
It's
agree.
stated publicly in a forum that they're aware of that.
Well, that's
This is garbage, actually.
That's why I wanted to have the time to bring these topics to the attention of council, because they're not addressed in here.
I'm not a master plumber, but I am a numbers guy, and if I presented this to my boss, he'd shoot me. This is garbage. This should be about an inch thick. Dave Cannon, what's your square footage requirements
For what?
for the new building?
What do you mean?
What are your needs?
Your office space.
You have no idea.
Yeah.
You should have told them what they need. Rob Fowler, what does this place need? How many square feet?
What you have to
We know they
keep right
need more
there.
than they have now.
They both should know. I can ask
Well, I
them
did
both.
answer.
What do you need, Ray?
Right,
Right there,
right.
ask him.
I said, we
You
know they
should
need
know.
more than they have now. I
They
answered.
need more, but you don't have a clue. You
Oh, well,
need
I take
definitive
offense to that. I don't have a
That's
clue,
why you
Greg.
have-
I mean, I take
That's why
offense
you
to
have
that.
architects and that, they'll go and say,
You know,
okay.
we,
I mean,
So
we
it
didn't
comes down to
go
the bottom line numbers. On a pro forma, what's your year one bottom line number? You have
Well,
no idea what that number is.
These need to be discussed.
Exactly.
And they need to have professionals come in that are not biased, moving one way or the other way.
There's no way you can take a responsible vote next week without all that information.
I agree.
I just wasted an hour sitting here. There's no way you can take a vote.
But they're going to
They're
take
going
it.
to.
Everyone
So-
in this room is a constituent of Munhall and a taxpayer, and we are all saying that as responsible council members, you need to table the vote and you need to have your numbers, because you were supposed to be stewards of our tax money. And we You would not build a house based on this type of report. If it was your house, would you accept this as a plan? And you're gonna lay out all the money to build this? Absolutely not. It is irresponsible.
I'd be more than happy to stay and listen to some of you guys, listen to all of you guys. I'm not going anywhere, but, you know, we can, well, there's no vote tonight, you know, there's no vote tonight. We all know
This
that.
is
way
a
next
public
week,
meeting,
based
and
off of this
everyone has an
information.
opportunity
This is
at a
right now.
public meeting to bring this out, not just for you, but for everyone that's watching this at home. This is all the things that should be brought up at a public meeting. Their comments, how the residents feel, should be brought up in public so everyone knows. You have already made your decisions, you're ready to take a vote next week on this. You haven't done the most basic due process and fiduciary duty How can you sleep at night? You went to your buddy who owns a construction company and said, we want a new office.
He's my buddy.
That's the rumor out in the streets. That's the rumor in Munhall, that there's a construction company, that's running this borough. And just because you have a friend that runs a construction company doesn't mean that we, the taxpayers and the residents, have to lose our borough building because you guys want a new office or you guys want to give business to your friend. That's the rumor out in the street, and I think you all should know it because you're on council. There will be elections coming up, and we are watching how other boroughs conduct business and how they have transparency and how they have finance meetings that are advertised and how they have every meeting a list of all the checks that are made out. This borough is not run that way, and everybody's fed up with it. And if you rip this building down or you try to do that, we're not going to let you do it. You can try, but we're not going to let you. We think that the better thing is to keep working on this building at least until you get some kind of engineering report on Willis that makes some kind of sense. And I have a question. This is a public meeting, and at a public meeting, the public is allowed to speak. There's some kind of rule around here that at a workshop meeting, the public's not allowed to speak. The only reason the Sunshine Law has public meetings is so the public can come and speak. So I'm going to speak, and I had a question.
As the president of council, I've never, anybody, and you came to a lot of these meetings, a lot of you have.
Damn
I've never stopped anybody from speaking at any meeting.
Well, wait,
What?
don't.
What'd you say?
Respect-
What'd you
I've
say?
been thrown out of this place more than once.
Don't call me a liar.
Hey,
Do not call me a liar.
You're a liar.
Do not call me a liar.
You're a liar from the beginning.
All right.
Throw me out. Here I go
Do
again.
not call me a liar.
Then-
He can leave.
Respectful.
No one's going to call me a liar, and I'm not a liar.
How many times
You're
have
not a
I
liar.
raised my hand to speak and you wouldn't even recognize me?
You know what? I'm not a liar, and do not call me a
Fred,
liar.
how many times this made you get thrown out of this meeting?
You know what? You know what? I'm not going to let anybody call me or any of this council or the mayor, any of us a liar, okay?
Thank you, Rob.
I'm not going to let any of us, and that includes all of us.
I agree.
We apologize,
Rick,
Ron.
can I ask
That's
you a question?
not called for.
You're
That's
lying.
not called for.
Rick, can I ask you a question?
Can I
You're
finish?
right.
You're not gonna call me a liar, right?
If we table this and we get other outside, like you're saying, and you're listening, okay? And say they come back with the same numbers and say the same thing, now what will you do?
The same numbers.
No, listen, you said get some outside.
Then you can make an informed decision.
Okay,
based
I
off
can't
of
really talk about,
detailed numbers.
if, say they come back with the same thing, I mean,
Right.
there's a big difference between here and there.
Right.
Okay, and they're saying it's better to do that than here. Then what do you say? I'm just asking you a question.
First thing I would say is, you can't replace our borough building.
Nobody said he was gonna tear it down, but I know.
Well, that's not what Mr. Stein said at the last meeting.
And I said that was just a thought I had. There's no fact.
I
Well,
never,
no,
I never
no,
heard
no,
anybody.
that's not what you said.
That is what I said.
You said we're gonna knock the building
I
down.
most certainly didn't watch the video, please.
I will watch it again.
But that's all.
Mayor, can I speak? Can I speak?
Sure.
Because can you even take a vote? I'm gonna bring this to an attention. And I'm sorry if I offend anybody, okay? But this is brought up to me by 5 people already, okay? And it simply states that when you are a councilman, you cannot work for the borough. This means, and that's under PA General Assembly Title 8, Chapter 11, Provisions A, the exact law states this, okay? Under 1104 of the PA General Assemblies, okay, it states, Part B, except as set forth in paragraph 2, no elected borough official of the borough with a population of 3,000, what's the borough's population?
12,000.
Okay, serving as an employee of that borough prior to the certification of the 2010 official census, which our census was whatever, subsequent latest official census, which indicates the increase of the population of the borough of 3,001. Okay, that means that every vote since this employee of the borough, and I understand what the employee does, and it's important and stuff, and this is not a personal thing. My argument is legally, under the PA General Assembly's Act, these votes, you know, when you're doing stuff like this, and you knew this, so you are doing, when you're voting and you get 7 votes or 4 votes, okay, this then puts into question, since January, of all of the other votes. Now, is there an employee on council that works for the borough?
There is.
Okay.
I'm confused.
I work for the borough.
Oh, okay. That's right. I couldn't figure it out.
Okay. You know, we can adjourn the meeting, but we can make this our own town hall right now, but let's adjourn the meeting.
No,
And I'm gonna
Rob,
make this a
I'm
town
sorry,
hall.
but we don't want to adjourn the meeting.
Why?
We want it to be a public meeting.
Well, I can't adjourn it, one of them have to, I can't adjourn it.
But
I'm the
you
president.
see where we're coming from. It seems like everything you guys are doing isn't occurring in a public
I
forum.
mean, he can keep
This
the
is a
cameras
public
on,
forum.
he can keep the cameras on.
Well,
Laura?
this is a meeting, and we have questions still. A lot of people are coming. You asked us all to come and get involved. We come, and now you want to adjourn. Well, we have issues here. I had a question that I wanted to ask probably 4 or 5 months ago. Payment was made to update the website. And no one has updated this website in at least 10 years. And I had a question about who serves on the different boards, what boards there were. There's a finance committee, but when they meet, there's no advertisement. Nobody knows when the meetings are, nobody can attend.
We
Same
can do
thing
it.
with planning
We can talk about them
commission.
all one at a time.
Well,
You know.
I had a question because I heard from other residents, and this is a rumor out in the street, that the planning commission, the person that's listed on the website as the head of the planning commission is no longer on the planning commission, but that Councilman Ballas's wife and son-in-law are now on the planning commission, and that his son-in-law is employed by the Batch Foundation, who is now going to be coming to the planning commission for they need permits to do anything, but apparently
They do not need permits, okay? If Batch plans on building a school, which he came a couple of years ago and said, I'd like to extend and put a gym on and this and that. It was just a general drawing. Schools are permitted in any area in Munhall. The only time you have to go in front of planning is if it's a, let me think of the word. It's not permitted use, it's a conditional use. Then they would have to go in front of planning. They do not have to go in front of planning. End of conversation.
they'll never have to go in front of planning.
No, because it's a permitted use.
Not if it doesn't have the permitted parking. If you
That's-
don't have the parking, you
Can I
can't go
please
there.
talk?
Sorry.
If they do not have, they have architects, and I'm sure they'll be reading our zoning. There will be qualifications, they have to meet the setback rules and parking. If they do not meet the parking requirements, they can go in front of the zoning board to ask for a zoning variance.
Correct.
Well, my only question is, in a public forum again, at a public meeting, there's a board, there's a planning commission now, and Councilman's wife and son-in-law are both on it. He's employed by Batch Foundation, and if anything would come before that planning commission,
There do
Right
not,
off
let me say this one more
I
time.
just finished
They
this.
do
Can I
not
finish
have to
what
go
I'm
in
saying?
front of planning. He does not have to go in front of planning, and if they did, he would be another person on a board, which he would not be able to vote.
Not
And
just
planning's
him.
only a recommending board, they're not a voting board.
Excuse me, it would not just be him. It would also be his mother-in-law, because he is an immediate family member. There's a conflict of interest there. And I just wondered, why in the world would council want to appoint a mother and a son-in-law to the planning commission when they are likely going to run into this issue because of his employment?
you-
That's
you-
my
They've both
question.
been on it for
that-
some time, and neither is a new appointment.
I can't tell because it's not on the website.
Yeah,
They
neither's a
made
new
an update.
appointment, I mean, I think they've both been on there for
Every board
5 or
has
6
that.
years.
Every board has that possibility where there may be a conflict of interest, and that's why you have solicitors
You
saying,
recuse
hey, you
yourself.
can't vote, or, you know, I mean, you have to abstain from the vote. All boards like that. My wife was on the school board for 12 years, and there was some places where there was family members who were getting coaching jobs, and she was not able to vote.
Right, but you weren't
Okay.
on it with her. So that's 2 votes on the planning commission right now, that if that would come before
They
them,
are
they would have to
not,
do.
they are a recommending board. They do not have
I
any
understand.
decision-making responsibility.
There is an appearance of impropriety. That's what we're talking about with the Borough of Munhall. Do you mean to tell me in this whole borough, you couldn't find more than 2 relatives to serve on that board that wouldn't run into this situation? It's the appearance of impropriety that makes people talk in the streets.
You know, we don't have, I mean, I'm not saying what your points are, but we don't have a lot of people applying for these positions.
They don't know.
We do advertise them in the Valley Mirror, you know, they are put in there. We're not gonna put a volunteer position in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. It's put on our website, I believe, when there's an opening on planning or zoning. We don't have a lot of people that, you know, come up and, you know, take the positions.
Rob, you advertised them in the Valley Mirror and you also advertised them in the Daily News when the Daily News.
Well, the Daily News was here, but they're not here anymore.
Yeah, but they're not
Yeah.
here anymore, but you did
That's why I didn't say
advertise
them. I knew we advertised in the Daily News. But
And they advertise the meetings every year, in the beginning of the year, what day the finance meetings are gonna be, what day this meeting is gonna be. They are advertised. They are advertised once a year. And if you look on the website, they are on the website, what nights the planning commission is meeting, what nights this is meeting. They are there, you have to look. But if I am correct, they are on the website.
I believe we are looking into improving our website a little bit too.
We
Now,
are.
Becky, aren't
We're
you?
about 95%.
That is one of the jobs that you've been, you know, assigned to do.
We're about 95% done with the new site.
And can I just change the subject for a minute to bring something else up to
Sure.
the attention? I wanted to talk about tonight, and I wasn't, you know, you get talking on things, but there is a lot that needs to be talked about. We have, on Wayne Road, there's a backhoe that's been sitting on that street for 2 years now. And I've talked to Dave about it, I talked to the chief about it. And you know what, it's not fair to that neighborhood to have that sitting on that street like that. I got another phone call from another resident who lives on that street again. And I told him that I would bring this up. And you know what, time is up.
We're actually, myself and Joe Hall are gonna meet with Mr. Hall, we're gonna go up, and we're gonna give him a deadline that he's asked to meet.
Well, do it. You know what? Do it, because it's ridiculous. It's not fair to the people of the town to have to live with that. And the woman on Crawford Street who came in here and the contractor was gonna build a parking pad there, it's not done. Nothing has been done for months.
Lenny Capola, I talked to him last week, he said he's gonna try to get up there between the week of October 15th through the 19th. He's been having trouble working up there because someone continues to park in the alley, and every time he has a good load to come, he can't get in there. So Greg, one of the guys, he came up and got no parking signs that he'll be putting up there, hopefully
Dave.
October 15th through the 19th.
Dave, we're tired of it, okay? It's everywhere through the borough. We need to start cleaning our town up. We need to start protecting our neighbors instead of upholding something. This should never be done like this.
Rick, let me explain to you something. Here's how bad it is. My roof had hail damage a year and a half ago. I've been dealing with roofers for the last year and a half to get a partial roof on my roof. I still haven't done it.
Well, I feel for you, because I just spent 4 months with my roofer, putting roof on my house, and you have to beg, borrow, and please them. I understand all that.
Contractors are not like they used to be. And I don't want to badmouth contractors, okay? But there's a lot of unreliable people that they'll say, I'll show up, and they don't show up. So then you go to another contractor, and you have the same problem there.
Well,
It's ridiculous.
I mean, you need to start putting pressure on these people
Well,
to
like I
start
said,
doing it.
Mr. Hallblight has been working on it.
He hasn't.
He has been working on it. He was just up there last week working. And I will meet, myself and Joe are supposed to meet with him tomorrow at 10 o'clock.
Dave, the neighbors have said that machine has not done any work in a year. Just
And he
telling
may
you.
be lying.
What about the building right across the street
I
here?
just took him to the magistrate, he pleaded guilty, you know what, we got a $500 fine.
I mean, a year, how long has it been on fire?
October of 2000,
2 years.
yeah.
2 years.
Yep.
2 years we had to look at that across the street. The neighbors.
Well, he was found guilty, what do you want me to do?
I'm just
He
telling
was,
you.
hold it, Rick. I go through the process, we go through the legal process, I get a court ruling for $500. So now I have to process again. I can't go over and take a gun to a guy's head and do something.
I'm not saying you should.
I can't do that.
I'm telling you, people are complaining to me
Well,
about
I go to the magistrate
So-
every week, I took 90 people because of high grass.
it. Are the taxes paid on that building?
I would have to look.
So I suggest that we knock it down if it's not.
We can start the sheriff's office.
No one's gonna buy it. It's burnt. It's a burnt out building.
Actually,
It's like the burnt out
Actually,
building
he-
on,
Actually, he told me he had a buyer for it.
it's like the burnt out building on, well, Washington Street's another case, but that's tied up in litigation.
There was also a building you wanted to tear down on 21st Street, okay? That's gonna be a $180,000 house in 4 months. $180,000. They'll be putting it on the market for $180,000.
Which house is that?
102 East 21st.
Yeah, by Jesse Wiggs.
Yep. And 4 years ago, tear it down, tear it down, tear it down. I said, no, you know what, that's gonna.
Is that the house that we tore?
No, it's 102, yeah, probably, 102.
Jesse Wiggs.
He's gonna put it on the same house I'm on 4th Street. Oh, tear it
And
down.
on 13,
Tear it down, tear it down.
$165,000.
$165,000.
One across the street for $125,000.
Yeah, tear them down, tear them all
Think
down.
about it.
That's why I had to put up for 4 years. I had to put up for 4 years.
The one on
4 years, so I
the
tear them down, tear them
You
down.
don't-
She'll tell you the exact same
$1,900
thing.
a month.
You don't have to live next to it, okay?
No,
This
I don't.
house, okay?
No, I don't, and I get calls on it, and believe me, I just took them, actually, yeah, he got $500, he said I'm guilty. He said he was guilty. He was supposed to have the hearing on the 16th.
We should be setting more sheriff sales up. I agree. We should
I
be
can-
doing
We'll
that.
send 200, well, I'll give you 200 to put on. 200 houses for sheriff's sales. You have 5,000 each for each house?
Well, that's something that's handled at the budget meeting, what we can do for sheriff's sales.
Any house that's.
At the budget
Any
meeting, we
house that hasn't paid
discuss
taxes for 2
what we
years.
think we can
put-
afford.
When I was on council, I presented that and I wanted that to be done. So the only two properties that have been sheriff's sale have been this one down here on 21st Avenue
We've had 20 houses on sheriff's sales.
that you brought to sheriff's sale.
Well, I don't, Joe, how many we had that one?
I'll get a number for tomorrow, but it's probably over 20 dollars.
You brought them or did the school bring them?
It doesn't matter. We tell them to bring them, or the school, we all now,
The school brings them.
Well, don't we
Or
split
we
the cost
tell
of the
them
school
that-
on it?
we tell them. when we're
We
not-
agreed with it. We agreed with them, right.
We'll send emails out and tell them, hey, look in the process of getting this one done, and it will go down. We had that one, we just went there. He already had it, he already had the paperwork ready.
I just had to bring those properties up because I'm getting called on. I'm not gonna take the floor anymore, I'm sorry. So go ahead. Excuse me.
I know some people want to speak, and we're, Mr. Ondo.
There's been a lot of talk here about like the planning commission and where it's going to the zoning board and stuff like this. Since I'm the only person here that's been on the planning commission for like a long time, what is my job then on the planning commission? No, I want somebody, please tell me, what's my job? When I come down here and I sit in that meeting, what's my job? So I would like somebody to tell me. If all I'm gonna do is recommend, and what does that mean? Tell me, what does that mean now? Because basically what was said tonight basically told me that I come down here and just waste my time.
No, I wouldn't say that.
I mean, I'll
It's a
tell you
job
what,
you're doing.
if
I
you
believe,
people-
but I think under the laws in the state of Pennsylvania, the planning commission is set up as an advisement board to the council. And we do take your advice.
Well, here's the thing, Rob.
Just
When
about every
somebody comes
time,
in
Kevin.
with a problem, where they're gonna come in and they have to come through us first,
Mhm.
we do a lot of research on that stuff. We have a book that's about yay thick that we have to do like this is, Because you got this piece of property next to you, you can't do it. Because you got this piece of property over here, you can't do it, or you can do it, or whatever. We do a lot of research before it goes from us to the zoning board, and then from the zoning board to council. And basically, what was said here tonight made my job look like it was worth nothing. I sort of took offense to that. Because I show up for the meetings, and I participate in the meetings, and I'm gonna make another statement that 3 or 4 months ago, one of our planning commission members, and I won't mention names because I won't do that in here, brought detailed pictures and schematics and stuff of the Charlie Batch School. So it's not in the planning stages, it's not in the like, well, okay, you know what, I'm just gonna draw on a piece of paper, this is a building, and this is a building, and this is a building. It was the outside, the facade of the building, and it was also what was gonna be on the inside. So, if anybody thinks that my job, as being a member of the planning commission doesn't mean anything, please tell me. Because then I won't waste my time. I took that job serious. I wrote letters. Joe, am I right or wrong? Did I write you a letter to be on the planning commission?
You did.
I did, sir. And I also did to the prior borough manager. I took that job serious because I have an interest in this borough. This just basically trashed everything that I felt.
Are there any vacancies on the planning commission?
Not as we just put PJ Strateski on there. But there again, and I have to agree about 2 members on that planning commission that are related and also related to an absent councilman. I have a problem with that. But to make everything perfectly clear, I did see drawings months ago, pictures, like in color. This is gonna be the gym, this is gonna be the science room, this is gonna be the robotics room. And you know what's really funny? The school that's gonna be built down there has way more to offer than our own high school, than we have in our own high school. And guess who it's gonna be funded by?
Our school.
Tell me.
Our school.
There you have it.
No, it's all private money.
It's all private money, but they're gonna have more for, now wait a minute.
No, I thought it was part of Steel Valley.
What's this?
No.
What's
It's all-
this
it's
school
all
for?
private
Tell me
money.
why this school is being built. What kind of students are gonna be in this school?
No idea.
Dave?
I know he is a.
Reedy?
I met with Joe this afternoon. And the answer.
I wasn't,
Well, I asked, did he know anything about the Charlie Batch properties? And he said yes. And I said, do we have permits for that over there? Yes. I asked how long were those permits good for? He didn't know, so I will ask you, Dave. How long is a permit good for? And does that mean the intention has to be done? Like if you say it's 1 year, does all his work have to be done in a year?
No, a building permit is good for, you have to start work within 6 months of the building permit.
Okay.
You have
within
5
6
years
months.
to finish the building permit.
Okay.
If you don't work on it for 6 months, you have to reapply for another building permit too.
Okay, so it's 5 years, and I did ask Joe, keep involved. I asked him, does he know what's going in there? And these were your words, Joe. You said it's a jail school.
That's what they call it.
Oh, that's good.
That-
Wait,
What?
just wait. I'm speaking for myself, and I think I'm speaking for many. I don't really know if any of you sitting there in front of me knew that this was going to be a jail school. And I have to honestly say, I wouldn't want a jail school that I knew nothing about going in next to me across the street.
It's not it's not a jail school. What it is, they have them kids over there now. The kids that can't behave, in other words, at Steel Valley High School or
I mean,
whatever other schools. And they go there.
mean to be locked up there.
They can't stay there all day because you have to feed them. They don't have no food, so they leave.
I want to hear these answers.
That's what it is. It's not a jail school. It's kids that can't get along at Steel Valley High School, and they have to go there.
So they're going, now we're going to have a gym and a kitchen and parking, but nobody knows about the parking.
They had the thing.
What do you wanna know about the parking?
I think they're gonna put a
We're gonna
shooting
try to
range
have
in
at
too.
least up to 8 spots for parking, and that's probably all we're required to have. Our code, our ordinance says 1 per each employer or 2 per each classroom, depending on if it's a middle school, a grade school, middle school, or a high school. We'd have to read the zone.
I'm just saying, as a resident, I would feel upset if somebody showed me these beautiful pictures and said, we're building a school. And all of us who have kids and grandkids, you look at that picture, and it's a school, but nobody said, who's gonna be in the school? Yes, we're all assuming, and that's where we all make the mistake, because it was never brought up. So when Joe said a jail school, I thought, thank God I'm not living right there.
It's
Okay.
not new, it's not new, it's been there.
It's been there.
I
never knew it was
but
there.
you don't think it's going to be bigger if he adds on?
It's
Okay.
still gonna be the
All
same
I'm
kids.
saying
To be
is-
honest with you, all he wants to do
Information-wise, I
is have
have
someone
information.
so the kids, after school, could go there and play.
Okay.
Okay? Another thing he wants to do.
No.
Another thing he wants to do.
It's a school.
It's a school, and
It's
he
a
wants to be
school.
able to have kids so that they could have, lunch or dinner, or breakfast even, to feed the kids.
Okay, my second thing was, I asked Joe about the Turtle Creek Valley, 3rd floor at Willis Center. And he informed me that I was informed wrong, wherever I heard this, and I just want to share with all of you. The Turtle Creek Valley floor is not going to be for any students or patients. Braddock Hospital, Joe, why don't you tell them? And then I
Yeah,
can have to.
from day one, it was brought to our attention, they have their headquarters over in Braddock, on Braddock Avenue. So, from day one, we were told that they were gonna remove their headquarters from Braddock Avenue to the top floor, be closer to their facility.
So the students.
And I will bring next week, I will bring the Turtle Creek Valley Executive Director in, I'll ask her to come to the meeting.
That would be wonderful, then we're good on that. So what you're saying is, that top floor, if this goes through, the top floor is going to be total administration.
That's what we were told from day one.
Okay, so, are we allowed to say, well, our plans changed and we're gonna have students in there, and no offense, we're gonna have students on this side from the Turtle Creek Valley Mental Health, and we're gonna have the kids who can't get along in the schools on this. Would any of you like to have that as your neighbor? I'm just posing the question. And last but not least, the man who stood up to ask about, there's a conflict regarding, on council, we have a person who is an employee and who sits on the council. So I'm going to have the guts, or the stupidity, whatever it is, to come flat out and say, will you make a choice before 3 years, so that whichever way, if we need to hire a crossing guard, we will hire a crossing guard. And if we need to get somebody on council, we will get somebody on council. I think you need to, maybe nobody ever said that was the rule, but it was presented tonight. And all I'm asking is, I think you go over to the Borough of Munhall to say, I have made a decision at the next meeting, I'm going to do, and then as council, if we need to replace somebody, or it's a crossing guard. But if it was brought to everybody's attention that that is not legal, then let's not just forget about it. That's all I'm asking. That's
Does
all I'm
anybody
asking.
realize how hard it is to find a crossing guard? Does anybody here go to school board meetings besides me?
Me.
Okay, we're the only two. Somebody in this room want to be a crossing guard?
What does that have to do with the state law?
Well, it's a state law, but was it okayed by the solicitor?
Yes.
A solicitor can't okay an illegal act.
A solicitor can make a recommendation. I'm not saying if it's right or wrong, but does anybody know how hard it is to find a crossing guard for the school district? If not, your police officers are out there in the morning doing it. I attend almost every school board meeting. I'm not disagreeing with you, but, you know, you should be glad that somebody volunteered to be a crossing guard.
How much does it cost?
So it's a volunteer.
Well, it's not volunteer, he gets paid. What is it now, $10 an hour, Harvey?
$10.
You made sure that the crossing guards, a couple.
We raised it $2.
You raised it. How many people were here at that meeting when you raised it?
Not too much.
Not too many, except me, right? Because I remember you're the one that brought it up, okay? Well, I'm glad there's more people coming to this meeting. You can be mad at me, you can't be mad at me. Why don't you come to the school board meetings too?
Okay.
Why don't you show everybody how much you care about this borough? Okay?
For 15 years I did go, because I had 3 children here.
Okay.
And I have to say, Lorna, I don't have children in the school district, okay? And I don't have children in the school district. But I do live in the borough, and that's why I do want to be informed.
Well, I'm glad you're here.
And the Valley Mayor, I think we need to say, there is crossing guard position for wherever it is, at this rate, please, you know. All I'm saying is,
They do put it out
let's
there.
act on.
They do put it out there.
Do they?
Yes,
Okay.
they put it out there for people to, and not too many, like Donald said, not too many one.
I realize that part.
I understand, but I'm saying that Mr. Petruzzi there,
I love the.
he can stay as a, he can stay as a crossing guard, but he doesn't get that pay.
So he would volunteer to be crossing guard,
Exactly.
sit on council.
If he decides that, if he decides it.
Right.
I'm not speaking for him.
Right, but I mean, if he's doing both jobs, then that's where it's illegal, and I think, you know, y'all bend the rule a little bit, but it's getting old. This was brought to the attention tonight, let's act on it. I love Mr. Petruzzi, he had all 3 of my kids, don't tell you, I love the mayor too. That's not the issue. I'm just saying, all we want is to be informed. Mayor Brennan, it takes guts. He has a business. I'm telling you, I don't know how I could possibly be doing both of this. And I'm going to speak for myself, but as I sit here, and that man is speaking, I can't say that it's very much respected any of you. You know, do like this. Nobody says, thank you for the report. That was informative. We'll look into it. I don't know that man last month or last whatever from Adam who spoke to you about maps. I'm just giving this example. He asked questions about could he have the building, would you attack to him, would you da. And not one of you, not one, said, thank you for your information. We will consider this or go to hell. You didn't say anything. I don't understand. I was not brought up like that.
But that man, that wasn't the first time. He's been here before.
Does
Before,
that-
before they had, we owned the building. Before he was there, he wasn't paying nothing. Munhall Borough taxpayers were paying for his electricity, his gas. He didn't pay no rent. Yeah, but I mean, we was giving him that building. So then we have the utilities tied on. But he's been coming to us. Rick, when you were on council, how many times did he come to us?
Well, he was very argumentative.
Right, but did we not give him all that stuff?
We did.
I mean, that comes to about $40,000 a year that we was giving him, and he wanted more money.
I think one of the things he asked for was a donation, and I think we did.
But we give him a donation.
The donation was already in the budget, and he was right. We didn't give it to him yet, but that's been taken care of, I believe now.
But see, with Mr. Aldridge, sometimes you want, I said to him one time, it's a while back, how about if we pay you the same amount that Homestead pays? And he laughs, because Homestead don't give him nothing. They service down there.
I think
West
you're
Homestead
sharing
doesn't
this
give
with us, because this is, I think all of us, you guys who sit up there, and all of us who are back here, we need to get along. I mean, we need to be on each other's side. You need to respect him, and he needs to respect you. We need to respect you, and you need to respect us. It's not like we're up here trying to stab your neck. We're not. Okay? I wish I could say, I'll go to the school board meeting. I can't. If you would see my life, you would understand. But it's a choice I made. I will be here. And I'm just saying, when you hear saw those numbers that Rick said tonight, like we're saying, holy God, I don't know if you really and truly thought that 2-page report was really an engineer's report. I've never done an engineer's report, but I'm sure Mr. Cannon had to know something about this, or our solicitor, and had to almost say, this is a farce, guys. I mean, but then maybe you just figure, well, nobody's really caring because nobody comes. And then when the word gets out and we do care, unfortunately, it's not the same opinion that you're having. I got the impression, I wish Joe was here because I would ask him flat out. I got the very, very, very good impression that you've already made up your mind. Okay? I did come on and say, this TV, whatever those letters are, TCVCS, is there going to be a vote tonight? He said no. And if you see my notes, I wrote, tonight's meeting, no vote.
We're not allowed to vote. We're not allowed to vote at this meeting
Right.
unless it's advertised, and that would only be done unless there was an emergency.
At the next meeting, Rob, I do hope that each one of you who are here, Mr. Tishman's not here, Mr. Ballas isn't here, the solicitor isn't here. I'm just saying, I hope you all talk to each other and say, you know, I with all clear conscience, as Jason Stein said last month, his own integrity. I hope to God, I know your children are not here, but you live here, but I'm just saying, I hope to God you take all this information, and if I do get 2 more reports, and they say you should go, I'll be the first one to say, if that's what, if that engineer's report says, that's it. But I think you need to look around. I don't think there's anything wrong with cleaning carpets, cleaning windows, getting new curtains, going downstairs and cleaning up the bathrooms. I don't know what it involves, but I think for all taxpayers' sake, when that happens in our own homes, we fix it. We don't put it off. We don't ask to see if we can get it for free. We take care of it. At least I do. Okay? I'm just saying, we should work as a team, everybody. And in all seriousness, those petitions that are given to you, I hope you read it. I hope you see. I think your names ought to be on there too, because you care about Munhall. That's all we're saying. We are Munhall. We want to stay here, people. My 3 children tell me, get out, Mom. You don't need that big house. You know, I love Munhall. I love it. I don't want to leave. And I don't want to be forced out because, dear God, they don't listen. It's not like it used to be, guys. We got young people on here. We got old people who live here. Let's work together. And if you need somebody on the planning commission, call some of us and say, hey, would you like to come to 3 meetings? And you do this little homework, and I'll do this little homework, and we'll see what we can do. I'll give you 110% if I can do it, okay? And I think there's a lot of people in this room who would give it. It's easy to talk. It's not so easy to do. But I think we need to work together. That's it.
If I can finish, sorry, Randy, if I can finish, I just want to make a statement in front of council, the council members that are here, and the people from Munhall Borough. I take pride in what I do over there in the planning commission. I would like to continue on for as long as I'm physically, mentally able to do that job. I am vocal when things come in over there. I'm not one to sit back and say, yeah, okay, it's a done deal. So I'm making a statement right now. I personally would like to make or stay on the planning commission when my term is up, because I've seen what happened to some of the past planning commission members. So if everybody heard that, when the time comes when my term is up, I'd like to still be, stay on the commission. Thank you.
Make a couple comments. I just want to address a couple of things that were said. Regarding the batch thing, I saw the fences up a few days ago, and I immediately called Joe and said, what's going on here? Because if I remember, and it was last year, I think you might have still been on council time, Charlie's wife was in there with a friend, I guess associated with the school, and they had a stand with diagrams of what they wanted to do, and it was all speculation. We collectively agreed, we're not committing to anything here because you don't have the funding for it, and as far as I knew, they didn't have the approval for it, the planning commission didn't put anything into it. So when the fences went up, I called Joe, I said, what's going on? We didn't approve any of this, right? He said, no, they're just tearing down. I said, they don't need approval for that? He said, no. I said, okay. But as far as I know, there's still no commitment for that school to go in. Now, I don't, maybe I'm wrong, that you're saying they don't need a permit to build that school there.
Oh, they need a building, they need a building permit, but they don't need any approval.
Approval to put it there.
Because it's a permitted
Okay.
use.
Okay,
The only thing they have to meet is all our zoning requirements, our setbacks, our parking,
okay.
height, and everything. If they meet all requirements of the building, I issue them a building permit and they go. And they
And that's-
have architects and they have our zoning.
And that's where I was mistaken, because I remember distinctly looking at those plans, and it looked like they had 4 parking spots, and I said, wait a minute, you're expanding this building by 3 or 4 times, and you're at least doubling the occupancy there. Pretty sure you gotta have so many number of parking spaces for people in the building. I don't want the parking in that lot, and I also saw that they were referring to the amenities they had, they included a walking track, and I said, that field is not becoming their walking track, and if they think that's it, then I don't want that happening.
I remember you saying that.
Yeah, so maybe there's some confusion there. I'd like to get that ironed out before they start doing something. Yes.
Good.
Just a question with everything else that's going on. If Charlie Batch has students that could possibly be sexual offenders,
No.
would that be a problem with Westfield and Kidsby?
Charlie Beck doesn't have what you're calling jail or that stuff. It's a kid. Say my grandson goes to Seal Valley. All right, teacher says, hey, go down to the office. No, F you. He's going to Charlie Beck's.
Yeah.
All
Okay,
right?
so.
He starts a fight in the cafeteria. He's going to Charlie Beck's.
I mean,
They don't have that exposed out of
But
school.
would there be a police record that could get checked too? Because if he's bad in school, he
Oh.
might have a police record
Well,
too.
that'd
for other
be Pat.
things.
When they have that sex offender, they do have to report to him.
Yes.
They do. Anybody comes into the borough.
Okay.
Any sex offender would, yes.
I have a quick question. I'm sorry to interrupt you, real quick. I live on Orchard Street, so this is all my backyard, basically. And I've lived there for over 30 years. I'm concerned now because you're telling me a school is one thing, but you're telling me that it's going to be a school for troubled children. I'm gonna call it troubled.
It always has been. It always has been.
It's been-
It is now, it is now.
They may get one police call every 2 years or for, to help out. They have their own
But there have been incidents with kids over there, and there's been fighting in the alleys, and it's a trash pit over there. And I would just ask everybody to take a ride down through this alley tonight when you go home and take a look at it. It was never that way, never. I've lived there for 30 years. It never looked like that. It was always maintained, the ambulances were always able to go down there. It's horrible. My concern is now, I put a lot of money into my house. I don't want a trash pit behind. What's that gonna do to the value of my house? Already with this $10 million field, which we all love, we have no parking. We have to be very careful when we leave because if there's events going on over there, we have no parking. And nobody, when they accepted the money, nobody looked at this. Nobody considered this. They just said, oh, you residents of Orchard Street, you're forgotten anyway. We don't care about you people. And we've all taken it and taken it and taken it. And that's just my concern. Like I said, I have lived here, I pay my taxes, I maintain my home, as do most of my neighbors, and we're just frustrated. Like, we want an even shot. We want to know what's going on.
Maybe we should have a parking permit area up there for residents.
I mean, or even if we could park, like in the winter especially, if everybody has to park on just one side of the street. Because right now, you go up there tonight, you cannot get an ambulance or a fire truck on that street. We are all at risk. The people that live closer to the bottom, and it's a dead end, we are at risk. And nobody has ever looked at it and thought about it, and it's horrible. It's just horrible. So I would ask you to just consider that when you're in the planning commission too. When you're looking at these plans, there are residents that live there and have lived there. That's the only thing I'm saying.
And the alley is a mess.
It's a mess.
It's a horrible mess.
Thank you.
Can I say something about the jail school, please?
Okay, I still have 2 more points, but go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, go ahead.
I just want to say one thing.
Yep.
I'm what's called a crisis intervention counselor. I got my job because I was in jail when I was 13 years old, okay? And That's how I got the job that I have now, because I deal with all the kids from Schumann Center that they bring in shackles and stuff like that. I'm sorry, you guys are in big trouble. You're in big, big trouble if that's a jail school. Let me
I
tell you.
wish
It ain't
Joe
a jail
didn't use the
school.
term jail school.
It's not a jail school.
Well, if you're talking about
I'm
kids
sorry.
that have
I didn't mean it
behavioral
to be
issues,
like that. That's
let
the
me
term
give you
that
an
they use.
example of a behavioral issue.
It's not it's, Sandy, it's more like, we're the bad at school. And before, when we went to school, they'd throw you out of school for 3 days.
Right,
Or
all
they'd
I
make
did
you
was
go
run
here.
away and I was
Well,
in
now
jail.
with that No Child Left Behind, they put them here. And that's
Temporarily.
all.
But I deal with
And then they
these
go back to
kids.
still Valley.
Right.
But I deal with these kids. Let me give you an
But
example.
you deal with criminals,
No, I deal with teenagers that have behavioral
not
issues.
criminals.
Like,
No.
like one that, the girl and the guy, he got mad at her, jumped on her in a parking lot, beat her head against the ground until she had a grand mal seizure. They called the police, dragged him off of her. He's a big star football player. He got away from the cops, got her again, beat her head off broke a vertebrae in her neck. I mean, I just want you to know where I'm coming from. Because I deal with these kids that have behavioral issues. They are not in jail. They're just bad kids that
How
do
long's it
stuff.
been there?
How long has it been there, Bill?
Oh,
As long as you've been here, huh?
I want to say at least 20 years.
This is
So-
20-year-old school.
Yeah, and now they're all up in Franklin. This is
Yeah, they
crazy.
are at Franklin.
They're at
I'll
Franklin
attest to
now.
that.
Who's at Franklin?
The alternative ed.
The Charlie Batch Foundation School for kids that don't like their teachers or skip school or get in a fight with somebody else because some girl said something. That is all it is. I'm not a fan of Charlie Batch, but that is all it is. It's a school, and now they're at Franklin and they're fixing this up. And they came in the spring of, I don't know. My husband spoke that day, which was funny, but he put this big plan out, and Charlie Batch does all this stuff for anything that happens from the cemetery down. So that is what it is. They do, they're right next door with the little pretty tires.
A lot of them
They've
were
been there
good
for
kids
years.
after a period. Mike have 4 kids. and
I
that's
wasn't there
good.
30. I wasn't there. It wasn't there 20 years.
The alternative ed school's been there for a while. What it is when a student gets suspended or close to expulsion, that's where they would put them, because a good friend of mine, her son, and I'm not gonna mention names or anything, went into school and he had a penknife in his book bag. He had to get down to the alternative ed school. Now, the real kick in the butt is, he was out of school by 11 o'clock, 11:30.
And they don't want to.
Because they
They
can't
don't want
leave
to.
it.
Now they want to keep them on.
Yeah, and the thing about it, when I found out he was there, I said, wait a second, I went and snatched him up, because I work a second shift. I'd go get him to help me with stuff around the yard. I said, if you can get your schooling in by 11:30, what's going on? You'd see a lot of the students fighting to get into that school, because they're out half a day.
But it used to be at the mall.
That was another school up at the mall. There was another
There was
school
one at
up at the
Century
mall,
Mall
up
one
on the
time.
3rd floor. Up on the 3rd floor at the mall, there was another school up there, yeah.
All right, no, I'll try to make the last two quick. Regarding the finance committee meetings, because I know we had discussions previously about the committee meetings needing to be public, and I made the comment then that the finance meeting is always public, it's always on the calendar, because I think that particular topic, being finances, should be made known. And we had our meeting last night, and I'll send an email to anybody who wants it. I went on the website today and noticed it wasn't on there, because the calendar's right on the front page. It's not like you gotta dig for it. There's the calendar, you see the dates, you can click on, the 9th would have been underlined, you clicked on it, it's finance committee, 6 o'clock. Wasn't on there. I asked Becky, I was like, why wasn't that on there? And she said, for some reason it was switched to Saturday, I got alerts for it. So she went in and fixed it, it's fixed, but I always want it to be on there, and I'm so conscientious of it that when I'm out of town for work or whatever and it can't happen, I call him and her and I say, please cancel it, because I want that publicized as well. I don't want anybody showing up and we don't have the meeting. So I'm very attentive to that. So I can't speak for all the committees, but finance committee meeting, I'm very attentive to. I just want you to be aware of that.
Can we FaceTime the meetings on the nights I'm at work and you have one? Because you realize I have to take a day off work to come to a meeting. So if I take my lunch and then we can FaceTime the
Okay,
meeting, I
yes.
can do that.
I'll agree to that.
Thank you.
Lastly, and I say this, you know, as objectively as I can, the report that we got from Colin and Chester Hatch Chester, I get that backwards all the time. That's a guy that's his career, that's his degree, he's a professional, he works for a company, so when he gives us that report, he's putting his reputation as well as his company's reputation on the line. Now, everybody's entitled to their opinion, and as the mayor was going through it, he said he would take it with a grain of salt, and that's fine, he's entitled to feel that way, but I think in all fairness, the mayor made a comment 3 times that he's not an engineer and doesn't profess to be, and he also, as he was reporting the stuff on his walkthrough, which thank you for doing that, we can never have too many walkthroughs just to assess it, but in all fairness, as you went through that, you used the terms "I think" multiple times, and as you're not an engineer, I think, to be fair, you should take that report with a grain of salt. If we're keeping everything above board and on the table, those were your opinions. I went through a walkthrough, I didn't see the same thing, and I'm no engineer either, so that was your interpretation, and thank you for it, and you're entitled to that, but that you know, there shouldn't be any more emphasis put on your report than there is over Hatch's. And I just want to make that distinction, that it seemed like there was a slanting going on, and we need to keep everything objective and try to keep opinions out. We are assuming our engineer is doing what's best for the town and for us. Is it the best work? I don't know. I mean, the argument can be made that if we went and spent 70 grand and had someone can do a thorough report and they decided that building wasn't worth it, some people can make the accusation, well, why'd you authorize the spending of 70 grand for something you're not going to do? I think there's always going to be some percentage of people we're not going to please, and I'm not saying any of you fall into that category. I'm just making a comment that some decision's always going to have a detractor. We try to do the best thing we can with what we know.
Jason, can I just say that we've heard from people who have contacts with engineering firms who are willing to volunteer to come in and do what should have been done between the 2 buildings. Our problem is when you have the Munhall Borough building and they're putting $2 million on for window dressings, and the engineer misses the fact that you need a new roof at the Willis Center, that's the tilting we're concerned about, that there's already an agenda in place that you're going to move into the Willis Center, and everything is being done to make this borough building look bad, while if there was an asbestos found in 2005, it didn't make it into the report, into Hatch's report for this time. And there were very obvious things like window replacements that needed done that didn't make it into the report. So again, we're not stupid. So you know,
Can I comment on that? Can I answer what you just said to me? Because obviously you didn't hear what I said. I've been in the business for 40 years. Okay? And I'm very thorough at what I do. And when I get on a job, one of the things you have to do is protect your employees who are working there. And if there's asbestos floor tile there, you have to treat it as asbestos floor tile. You don't, in a case like that, it needs to be tested. That's why I'm not saying that it is, because it's not been tested. It's from that era. It's the size. It is asbestos, I think. I say I think because it needs to be tested.
Understood.
And it's not been tested. We had 4 months to go through that building. It should have been tested. That's my point. So, and let me tell you, when I see asbestos on a pipe, and I tell you it's asbestos, it's asbestos. I know that guaranteed.
Yes, on a pipe, I would never.
40 years.
Yes, you've been informing me. I would.
So don't try to belittle my statement. When I say I think, I'm meaning it needs to be tested by a chemical lab that takes that sample and says, yes, this is asbestos. Yes, that plaster in that wall is asbestos. Yes, that insulation that's blown on the beams, that is truly asbestos, or it may not be asbestos. But it needs to be done before you get work crews in there, and then you have someone 10 years later who has, what is it? Yeah, thank you. So that's what it's about. I mean, and it's a serious thing. And before, they don't even mention it in there. That's why I think it needs to be done. And that's why I use the term "I think," because no one knows until it's done.
I don't disagree with you. Safety
Well, thank you.
safety is a concern.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
But I gotta be the bad guy.
Anybody else? I'd make a motion to adjourn unless someone would like to bring something else up.
I say You're on the bad guy.
Thank you for hearing us out.
I agree. And it's nice to hear you talk. I mean, you talk to us.
That's why we're here. It doesn't always appear that way, but that is a fact.
Okay, Jason, was that a motion?
Oh,
Motion and a
I'll
second.
talk to you after.
You want to talk to me
I
after?
do want to talk to you about something that happened on Main Street. We did have a person that was killed on Main Street last week? And I think.
Oh, the accident, you mean the
Yeah, I
traffic?
want to talk to you about that, and we can talk about it next week, but I'm sorry.
Yeah, motion, Jason.
Second.
Done. Have my Harvey motion adjourned.
Yeah.
Thank you all for coming.